10 months after its initial release, Kerbal Space Program 2 has had its first major early access update, the long-awaited Exploration Mode. This marks the first milestone in the previously released roadmap. In this video, I'll give a quick breakdown of the update, the ups and downs, whether this actually makes KSP2 early access worth its controversial price point, and tell you if this update saved the game. Spoiler alert, it didn't, and I'll explain more later in the video. This update adds the promised game mode that focuses on exploration and collection of science via story and mission-based system that both acts as a tutorial for the game's progression, as well as giving the player goals to accomplish should the sandbox nature of the game be too overwhelming and they require some direction. This also comes with the addition of plenty of new parts and pieces to complement the system, as well as bug fixes and minor tweaks to the UI. In a pleasant deviation off the science mode and mission mode of the original Kerbal Space Program, the exploration mode comes with a story and a narrative that, if you pay close attention to, reveals some pretty interesting lore and background about Kerbals, along with some high-level dad jokes and puns for you to sigh at. You can tell the writers have put a great deal of effort into the storytelling and mission descriptions. Despite some visual bugs, typos, and the occasional groan, the missions will guide you from your first launch to landing on the moon, all the way to exploring the mysteries that each planet holds. During each mission, you'll run experiments, collect science, and complete mission objectives, which in turn also grant you science points, and as you expect, use these science points to unlock more parts to help you progress through the story and missions. While the game runs tremendously better with a series of updates over the past few months, including some more tweaks via this update, aside from the cute storytelling and updated interface for the science mode, there's nothing groundbreaking added to the gameplay to warrant the 2 in KSP2. Of course, other than the graphical overhaul, the original KSP remains vastly superior and much more worthy of your money. There still remains a significant amount of missing content in the game, along with the save-breaking bugs, re-entry and thermal systems and wobbly rockets still being fairly wonky. It is still an early access game. Many people would be justified to say that prior to this update, the game appeared to be simply a cash grab and that we would be left hanging at this state, with the game likely abandoned given its very negative reviews. I would agree that it was a cash grab. That is what early access really is, a cash grab for more funding to keep the development going. However, it is safe to say that this update should have been the state of the game 10 months ago, when early access was first released. And while this content release has somewhat revitalized the interest in the game, increasing its active player counts from a dismal double digits to the thousands, along with boosting reviews from mixed to positive, it's also fair to say that Intercept Games and Private Division could have avoided such a severe backlash if they had just waited a few more months to release the initial version of the early access. I mean, we have been waiting for the initial access since 2020, and if they had delayed it an extra 6 to 10 months to release with a science update, it would not have been that big of a deal. In a recent interview with Shadowzone, creative director Nate Simpson explained why there was a huge gap for this first update, and alluded that the release of colonies and other systems would come in a much faster turnaround time. And this was because of the significant amount of work that was needed and happened over the past 10 months, for foundational aspects of the game rather than upcoming features. And now that they feel that the base of the game is at a comfortable spot, the team can now focus on the roadmap and new features that they promise. I still really wish they would pick up the pace and bring us the game that truly deserves our money, but also our time. And to be honest, while this update is a huge step in the right direction, the game in its current states, and is actually playable, it's still a far cry from being as enjoyable as the original, even considering that it's early access. The UI is clunky and glitchy, the workspace and save system is unintuitive, some of the basic elements are missing, like skip orbit on the maneuver nodes, fuel systems, and the communications network is just a joke. Kerbals have no roles even with the science system released, and of course the game and save ending bugs are still here. And in my opinion, the game still feels rather sterile. All this adds up to a lousy experience even with how great the new science mode is implemented, and this is actually reflected by how the number of players is slowly decreasing again. If you are on the fence about the game, save yourself the frustration and wait a few more months to a year. Maybe by this time next year the game will be worth sinking your time into. Thank you again for checking out this quick update on KSP2, but if you've tried out the science mode, please let me know what you think. Subscribe for future content, and always make time for games.